It's really quite amazing that I found you. I will say this because you're not out there really to speak of on the internet, except here we are today. You're
You're
not
welcome.
you're not advertising necessarily. So and you don't really look what maybe I would or other people would say is like a spiritual teacher. Sometimes people get in their minds like what that looks like, and so they
And I
might
want to
miss.
say that in the past, when I first started, Reiki and other techniques were absolutely not yet known about. When I started to teach and to do this work, nobody like understood how someone who looked like I did 40 years ago, how this wild child was really able to bring through the teachings and to be a very high level medium for the white brotherhood, sisterhood of light. Like, how can that be? Because I wasn't, putting on the, I guess, identity of spiritual teacher. I was just teaching. And I think that was very hard for people. I think it's getting easier. More different mainstream people are doing some good work. And it's not that it isn't good work, it just isn't the level you're talking about.
Yeah.
And usually teachers who are at the level we're talking about are off in remote places where they get to go into seclusion or into the ashram and they're taken care of so that they can just work with the world. I'm working 24/7, dreaming, awake with so many people, and I'm not even physically with them. So I just think it isn't recognizable. A lot of people don't know that that's what I do, and that's okay.
Right.
The only thing I would change is if people like you who want a teacher don't know where to find the help they want. I'm open to being available, teaching some workshops, and getting some of you who have been training to teach more workshops. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Pass it on, please.
I'm doing my level best. And I do want to say that because we're talking about how do you find a spiritual teacher or somebody at your level, I have to say, like when I stepped foot in this center, I almost didn't even know what I was looking for. It was very nebulous, even in my own mind. But I knew I was looking for something.
So how did you know when you found it?
I think this goes back to what we were talking about before. I knew that I found it because in some way it felt very real. And in another way, I it left me with more questions. It left me like it left me wanting to be better.
That's it. To inspire someone to want to be better, to be more of what they were born to be, to drop the costumes, to drop the training that they got from parents and school, even from spiritual doctrines, to strip down and be open and willing to be more of what they came to be. I think that's what is most fulfilling for people. They may not know it. They may think they want to learn how to manifest something in 3 days or be done with an illness spontaneously, or, I mean, all those things are excellent outcomes, but the process of becoming more and more of what you came to be, that's actually so exciting for people. And I like lighting the candle, passing the baton, helping people open. It's incredibly thrilling.
And it's thrilling, but on the other hand, it requires, and I was thinking about this morning, it requires a lot of patience, and not just for the person that's seeking, but for the teacher. Only because I was thinking this morning, I was like, how did Sara put up with me in the beginning?
Guys, if you just knew how hard it was to put up with me. They asked me to do one more thing. I'm like, are you kidding? You want me to do more? Oh, okay.
And here's something I want to just share about manifestation from me.
Mhm.
So there was a time I walked past a building and there was a certain organization that was housed in that building. And I thought to myself, oh, I'd really like to work there. And that was it. I had the thought and I let it go. I didn't really think about it too much. Um, and then literally 13 years later,
Mhm.
I started to work there. And what I felt about that experience, or what I knew about that experience, what I felt and what I knew, was that 13 years prior to getting that position, I was not ready for that position. And that there were so many things that needed to happen along the way to put me at the ready.
Right.
And so then when the opportunity came along, it happened. Actually, it didn't happen very seamlessly. It looked like I was going to get the opportunity, and then I didn't. But then about 3 months later, it opened up again, and I was there. So just about manifestation, because you said in manifesting in 3 days, and we were talking about having patience. That there are so many things that have to come into being, or that you have to either let go of or welcome in order to be able to have that, I don't know, that magic, that manifestation.
You're right. It takes letting go of a lot of things that exist to make a space for what has not yet come into form, whether it be an opportunity, a person, a gift opening. I think there's more of a shedding of the old identity and the old way of life that has to happen, but that's an ongoing daily practice. And that's why I said meditation, or what each person needs is different. What keeps breaking down who you used to be is what's going to cause rapid manifestation of all different kinds. And the reason you want to manifest something is so important. If it's for your own fame and, um, being regarded as this master teacher, if you're about your own identity and you're not about the outcome for everyone, it's not going to happen the same way. So that's why I say intention guides everything, and being willing to let go of everything. And that's why I develop patience for others, because I have to do it so much. Before any time I teach, I go through many situations that are similar to what I'm about to teach. And I have to just keep letting go and recognizing that I'm being prepared to explain that experience to others. So how I'm patient with people who want to develop is, it takes an ongoing steadiness to let that change keep happening.
Ongoing steadiness to let change keep happening.
Yeah.
So it just sounds like, and not just, but it sounds like really this whole idea of having a spiritual practice is a daily practice.
And that's different for every person. I'm not teaching one set of rules. I mean, I surprise myself by what I end up having to do to grow spiritually. I mean, I never thought I would dance.
Hmm.
And that is the hardest thing I've ever done. And I'm working at it harder than anything. And that has helped my spiritual work with people and my healing outcomes with people to get better all the time. But I would have thought sitting quietly and meditating would have had that effect. And it did for some number of decades. And then I had to do something that was harder.
Well, talk more about that. You had to do something that was harder, because sometimes I think people get in their head, like, if I become more spiritual, if I let go of these things to the extent that they can or do, that things will be easier. But you just said harder. So can you say more about that?
Yes. I think the desired outcome of doing work is the capacity to do more work. And what teaches you that is the best sadhana or spiritual practice. For me, many years ago, sitting quietly from 4 a.m. till I went to work, 3 or 4 hours, was the thing that stretched me because I had to sit still, which was a very big ordeal. And when I had attained the ability to do hour upon hour upon hour of spiritual healings and teaching and ongoing all day long, once that was like a normal for me, I began to be challenged to do different things and try different things and study different kinds of medicine and alternative medicine, and everything from chiropractic to, I did all kinds of trainings that weren't exactly my field because I had to get outside of the box that I was living in.
Hmm.
After my car accident, which was 2015, I had a brain injury. And I thought, what am I going to do? The things that are normally helpful to someone recovering aren't helping my memory come back or my vision. And I thought maybe I'll go back to dancing because I did it when I was a kid. And sometimes if you go back to early things like cross crawling, it helps the brain recover. So I started doing this because it was really hard for me to remember steps or to see where I was going. And it still is difficult, but it's getting better. I discovered that the difficulty physically, emotionally, and spiritually of doing something that I loved this much, but I was old when I started.
Yeah.
I was 65 with a massive brain injury and an inability to see out of my right eye. I think I felt some aspects of age. I knew I wasn't 20 starting an athletic training, so it has been very difficult and so exciting because every time I hit a limit and I think I can't do more, I do the same practice that I did to open up my spiritual connection. I open up to the guidance and allow something other than my personality to guide the next steps. And so you can use anything as a spiritual practice if you know how to access guidance. So it's the hardest thing I've ever done. It's also really fun. And I get to be the student because I don't know anything. I'm learning, but I didn't know anything about this. So it's all new. And I think that keeps the way I teach fresh.
Well, what I liked what you said about when you reached a challenge, you didn't stop, but you waited for the next step, for the guidance. And so I think what I've seen just in teaching and in, doing my readings, that people tend to stop when they get that challenge. And that could maybe be from their conditioning, that they don't feel that they have the power to overcome, or that they, can't
Or they need help.
or they need help.
A lot of people don't want to admit that they don't know how to do something, like it's going to make them look like they're less. But I'm very open, and I'm open with my students too. Like when I don't know how to handle something, like we don't have to know in advance. We have to know the right question.